When Julia Louis-Dreyfus showed up in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, fans of Seinfeld and Veep cheered. Still, if they weren't also fans of Marvel Comics, they probably didn't know who she was. Dreyfus plays Vallentina Allegra de Fontaine in the MCU, and she's since appeared in the post-credit scenes at the end of Black Widow. In each appearance, she's actually recruiting powerful people who skirt the line on being either a hero or a villain, leaving many to wonder what she's up to. Like most of the people who show up in the MCU, Vallentina comes right out of Marvel Comics, and using her appearances as a guide, it's possible to form an educated guess as to what she's planning in the MCU. First, let's talk about her comic book background. Vallentina has actually been in Marvel Comics since 1967's Strange Tales number 159, so she's not exactly a recent addition. She was initially recruited by Dum Dum Dugan, who brought her into S.H.I.E.L.D., which is where she first met Nick Fury. And, the Countess Vallentina Allegra de la Fontaine impressed her superiors with her remarkable talents and probably her really long name. After a bit of time, she and Fury began seeing each other romantically. They even moved in with one another, but Nick's on-again, off-again flirtations with his ex-girlfriend, Laura Brown, didn't sit well with Vallentina, so she started flirting with Captain America, which drove a wedge between Nick and Cap's relationship for a little while. They ended up fighting one another over Val, but she stepped in to put a stop to it, leaving the two gentlemen to overcome their differences and put their little spat behind them. Sometime later, the Contessa was placed in charge of the Femforce, a cadre of female S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Once again, Val's flirtations with Cap drove a wedge into another relationship since he was dating Sharon Carter at the time. She remained a significant player at S.H.I.E.L.D. for some time, but after Fury went underground, the agents closest to him were put into lower-level positions, and that meant Vallentina was too. She was placed as S.H.I.E.L.D.'s liaison to the United Kingdom, which is where she met up with Union Jack, Sabra, and the Arabian Night. They all teamed up for some adventures, but things changed for the Contessa around the time of Marvel's Civil War. In her S.H.I.E.L.D. capacity in the UK, she became heavily involved with the British version of the Superhuman Registration Act. It was around this time she had a change of allegiances and joined Hydra. When she did this, she took on the formal name, Madam Hydra. She manipulated the organization into stealing a powerful artifact from the Silver Samurai. Her allegiances changed once more when she betrayed Hydra, stealing the artifact for herself. She killed Viper to get it and appeared to be working for herself with no true allegiances to any organization. Ultimately, Vallentina met up with Fury in a restaurant, finding that he brought her flowers. He confronted her about her extracurricular activities, so to put it, and the two had a parting of ways. After which, it was revealed that everyone else in the place was carrying heavy firepower, from one side or the other. Now, after decades of espionage, it was finally revealed that the Contessa had been a Russian sleeper agent from the very beginning. She ended up surrendering herself to Interpol and is locked up, but not for long. Nick Fury, always the romantic, unleashed a plan to break her out of prison. With such a long and storied career in the comics, what could Vallentina from the MCU be up to, and why is she recruiting so many trained killers? The internet is flooded with theories and educated guesses fans have already made, as they try to answer these questions. I'm sure the truth will eventually be revealed, but before it is, ideas are all we have, so here goes mine. Now, Vallentina recruited US agent and Yelena Belova, Black Widow, so far. And both of these characters have a long and impressive career doing less than honorable things in the comics. The MCU's Vallentina appears to be just as manipulative and conniving as her comic book counterpart, so it's clear she's willing to do whatever is necessary to get what she wants. This includes altering the narrative on Natasha's death to compel Yelena into her service. Given what is known about those characters and the fact that Vallentina is putting together a team, she may be working for someone else, someone way more powerful. The going theory is that she's working on behalf of General Thaddeus E. Thunderbolt Ross. Given Ross's dislike of heroes and their penchant for disobeying orders, he's probably looking to put together a team of his own people. In the comic, that team was originally called the Thunderbolts. And again, in those comics, the Thunderbolts were put together by another MCU character seen in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Baron Helmut Zemo organized the team under a cover identity. He recruited villains who masqueraded as heroes and managed to fool the authorities into believing him. The group consisted of Fixer as Techno, Screaming Mimi as Songbird, Goliath as Atlas, Moonstone as Meteorite, and Beetle as Mach 1. The Thunderbolts' first incarnation had nothing to do with Ross, but the team was broken up and reformed several times. The most famous roster was led by Ross, who wasn't just any angry military man, he was the Red Hulk at the time. The lineup of the Thunderbolts has included characters who've appeared in the MCU, including Black Widow, Natasha in the comics, but Yelena works fine going forward, Hawkeye, Taskmaster, Ghost, John Walker, and Baron Zemo. All of those characters have appeared in the MCU, and all of them are appearing to align towards something greater. Could it be a version of the Thunderbolts that will ultimately see Ross transform himself into a Crimson Rage monster? It's certainly possible, and now that there's a Black Widow and US Agent on the same team organized by Vallentina, that's looking like a pretty good possibility moving forward. Of course, there's no way to know if Valentina's machinations will be the primary focus of Avengers 5. That film may follow Nick Fury into space to fight a greater cosmic threat. After all, you have to step up the villain game considerably following Thanos. There are theories all over the place on what Avengers 5 might entail, but the Thunderbolts may begin to form before that happens. Since the post-credit scenes from Black Widow clearly hints at what's coming for Hawkeye,